Hi and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm Rebecca and this is Grove Knits, and essentially I'm just a knitter and spinner, and I just do a lot of stuff with yarn that I actually like to do. And for those of you who are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I'm really honoured that you're actually watching and that you're interested in what I'm doing. So I've actually not done any spinning so far this week. I'm really hoping to get to some this weekend, although I've got to say today is already looking pretty busy. We've got a whole heap of people potentially coming over. We just need to confirm. We don't normally have, I've got 3 adult kids, although that sounds a bit weird, adult kids. And I believe that everyone's actually going to be here, and some with their partners this evening. We've also possibly got my in-laws coming over as well, so we need to figure out what we're going to do for dinner. Hopefully we'll have a card night or something like that. We love playing cards. But anyway, what all that translates to is the day that I had hoped to have spinning and knitting perhaps will not eventuate. So to talk about what I've got that I have been working on this week, my daughter is moving to Western Australia shortly. It's in about a week and a half now. She'll be up here as well. Here comes Idaho. So, hello my love. Yes. So I need her to try on her sweater. I'm actually knitting for her the Ursa, but I'm actually making it a bit longer. She doesn't want it quite as cropped as that is. So it'll be a little bit longer, perhaps about 2 inches or 3 inches longer. But what I'm actually knitting it with is some yarn that I picked up on sale in, this sounds terrible, but it's fabulous, it's the only way to shop, in the bargain bins at Bendigo Woolen Mills. What they had were bags of, when I weighed them, it worked out about 400 grams. They had bags of, I had 3 different colours. So this one's a bit pinkier, obviously a bit more of a deep, they're nice dual toned, and an emerald colour. These are 85% wool, 10% acrylic and 5% mohair. So, but as you can see, they're all tiny balls. Now the beauty is, for those of us who are experienced knitters, while this is can be a little bit annoying changing yarn all the time, it's really not such a biggie. I can do invisible seaming and changing of colours. I weave my ends in as I go quite simply. So it's really no biggie. So I got about, yeah, I'm pretty sure the bags were about 400 grams in each bag. And they were $2 a bag. So for $6, I got 1.2 kilo of 85% wool, 10% acrylic and 5% mohair. And it is so squishy. It's quite a bulky yarn, so it's actually quite great for that Ursa sweater. And while these aren't colours I would have naturally put together, it's actually knitting up quite pretty. I will just hold this up for a second now, and through the magic of recording later on this afternoon, I'll pop this on, even though it's so not the size for me, just so you can see. So this is how it's actually knitting up in those colours. Now it has been pointed out to me by my husband that it looks like Freddy Krueger's sweater from Nightmare on Elm Street. And at first, I got to tell you, for about 5 minutes last night, I was actually a little bit annoyed because I thought, I'm not trying to knit a Freddy Krueger sweater for my daughter. But you know what? I'm just going to embrace it, because since then I've now been spammed, as my daughter was as well, spammed with memes of Freddy Krueger images, and we're just going to embrace it. So I'm now knitting her the Ursa in Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street colours and patterns, and let's just embrace it and run with it. So my daughter has a particularly large, she's an gorgeous Amazonian height. She's about 6 foot and has is quite ample in the front, so that's why this is quite a larger size. But as I said, through the magic of video recording, I've got a duck out at the moment, but I'll actually pop it on for you so you can actually see how it's knitting up. But I'm actually quite impressed with how these colours have come up. And as I said, considering it was about 1.2 kilos for in total $6, you just can't go wrong. So yeah, So that's my Ursa sweater for my daughter. But as I said, I've got to try and, in amongst everything, try and get this as finished as possible this weekend so she can actually take it with her. Not sure that that's going to happen with everything, but this is now going to be, I've got a bunch of running around to do. This is going to come in the car with me and we'll see how much farther we get. I am on the half brioche fanning down the bottom. So I've just started, I've done that's about an inch of that triangle. That is from here. So I'm working on this half brioche triangle at the moment. So now to have a quick look at some yarns that I've actually got. As we've talked about before, I'm quite the bargain hunter. I actually got 2 of these bags. This is from the Bendigo Woollen Mills again. It is 8-ply alpaca. It's 100% alpaca, hand wash. And you can see there it says there's cuts in the yarn. So the skeins of this, they've accidentally gone through parts of it with a blade. Each of these bags, I bought 2 of them, were $2 each. Just $2. So I got a couple of kilos of alpaca for $2, all ready to go. The beauty is, I hate untangling yarn. Look, a lot of this is, there's some short pieces in here and some of it's a bit knotty. But this is the second bag that's been done up. My husband loves an untangling yarn, so he's been set the task of just when he's watching telly to actually go through them and untangle and ball up the sections that he can. So we got a huge amount of alpaca yarn. I just got to figure out, obviously be something likely in a cowl or a shawl or something. But as I said, 2 bags for $2 each, which was just amazing. So that's the last of my bargain shops. I always pop in, probably weekly, into this particular shop and have a look through the bargain bins, because while there's not always a lot there that's just, oh my goodness, what a fabulous deal, occasionally I do find things like with that alpaca yarn, and also like with the yarn that I'm doing for, I can't even call it anything but the Freddy Krueger jumper now, but the gorgeous Ursa sweater, because it's just so cheap. If you're prepared to deal with pieces that are going to be smaller and you're going to have to do, I often use, if it's not such thick yarn, I'll do a Russian join where you essentially loop the fabrics together like this, but then I sew it back onto itself, both sides. That works fabulously if you're not worried about where the colour change is, or like with that alpaca, if it's going to be the same colour, because I can just pop that in anywhere and off I go, and it's an invisible join. Some other yarns that I've got here to knit up with, I had plans for, which way do these guys go? This way. I had plans for these 4. So I've got this fade set now. I was going to knit with this, the Andrea Mowry So Faded, but as I've shown, and I'll include a little picture of it up here, previously I've already knitted the faded sweater, but it's a not so faded, thank you dogs, it's a not so faded because I've just done it in a single hand-dyed yarn. So I need to find something else to do a fade with, but I'm actually a little bit over fades at the moment, so I'll figure that out later. So I've also got some nice Malabrigo that I wanted to get my hands on to have a bit of a play with. So I've got 2 skeins of this, which is Malabrigo Anniversario, and it's Makita, so it's 100% superwash merino. It's 420 yards in each of these. And then I've got these 2 lovely contrasty colours, which are Malabrigo as well. Polar Morn is the grey, which is also, and it's Dos Tiaras. It's 50% merino and 50% baby alpaca. And this one is Reflecting Pool. There's the tag there. And it is the Dos Tiaras as well, and it's 50% merino and baby alpaca. So these are Peruvian yarns there. So I'm looking forward to doing something with those. There's a Bendigo dyer, because I'm in the Bendigo area, called Happy Hank Company, Happy Hank Co. So Sai is the dyer, and this is her creme brulee yarn. So this here, I've been getting a bit from her lately, as well as some beautiful sock yarns, pieces. This is a nice 4-ply in superwash merino. So this will actually be a nice hat at some point. So that's the creme brulee. So you can see here it's got lots of rust tones and yellows and greys and golds. I think a creme brulee is actually a nice... Sorry, the dogs... This little mini dachshund is eating the Labrador. She's eating her ears and hanging off the bits of his face. It's just a whole dog fest down here. Okay. And finally, just to show you here, I grabbed these. I've got 3, so I've got a sweater quantity of these. And it's called Love and Happiness. These are Shalaman yarns. And it's the airy colourway, and this is 70% merino, 20% kid mohair, 10% silk. So that's actually going to knit up beautifully. I said that'll be a full sweater, but it's actually in a single ply. So we'll see how we go with that. Cheddar thinking she's a big bad guard dog. I like the way that this is single plying up with the green and the white going through. So I'm just going to spin up an equivalent amount to my other bobbin, and then I can have a go at plying them together. It's a good day for spinning today because we've actually lost power. Thankfully I can do some video recording because I'm using a laptop which is charged up. So the house is nice and quiet because everyone else has gone out. They don't seem to find a house with no power as stimulating as I do. I think it's the perfect environment. These fibres are definitely much easier to spin than the natural bag I was spinning on for the other part of this ply. They're all predominantly facing in the same direction, which is quite helpful. Sounds like I need to oil the wheel again. It's getting a little bit squeaky. So I haven't finished spinning these yet, but this is the natural one that I've spun up, and this is that green and white fibre and how it's spinning up. So yeah, so I'm going to keep on spinning that. I just wanted to show you how that was spinning up though. So it's spinning quite fabulously. I just also want to say thank you very much for the comments that I've gotten below. And particularly some of the advice that I'm getting through about spinning and my over twisting. Also got some great advice on some videos to watch. So thank you very much. I can assure you I've actually looked at a couple already, and I'll continue looking because that was some fantastic help and advice. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend or week if you're watching it a little bit later. This week coming up, I've got the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Festival on Friday, so I'm going to the Women of Wool lunch first, and then I've budgeted to actually go and buy hopefully a nice small carding machine for some of this fleece that I've got. So yes, I want to actually get a carding machine and hopefully buy a couple of hanks of yarn. But I'm actually, honestly, I'm trying to work through my stash at the moment because I've just got such a build up, and what I need to try and stop doing is just buying single skeins of gorgeous yarn that I find, and actually buy at least a couple so I can actually do something larger with them. So hopefully when I talk to you next week, I'll have completed the Freddy Krueger sweater. I'll actually finish the base of the sweater today, and then I can just get the arms done. I can't believe they have put Freddy Krueger in my head with it. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate your time. Or I just thought it would be interesting for me to document my process of learning a new skill from the start, for my own personal growth as well. And I really appreciate your comments about my knitting. I got some through. While I've knitted since my pre-teens, as most of us have, I imagine, I can think of gaps of 5 to 6 years where I hadn't actually even picked up the needles. And all of my beginning knitting was just those pieces in the flat from those books that we'd pick up from chain stores and knit on flat needles and piece and then seam together. I hadn't even heard of Ravelry until a few years ago. And then I hopped on a few times and had a look, and kind of struggled as a newcomer to Ravelry finding my way around, because initially the UI of it, I didn't find that easy to navigate or understand what I was doing. Thankfully YouTube helped with that, because I was even able to YouTube how to use Ravelry or something along those lines, and haven't looked back since. And I'm really valuing with Ravelry and other sites that connectedness, the discovery of new designers and patterns. I'm happily buying patterns on Ravelry because I understand the work that goes into that designing process. I wouldn't mind giving it a go myself sometime in the future, because I do design a lot of my own beanie patterns. I like to mix a bit of crochet and knitting together with some beanies. I might show some of those next week. But at the moment, I'm just enjoying learning to spin, knitting for my family, knitting for friends. But anyway, that's the joy of being a knitter. Have a lovely week, and thank you again, and I'll talk to you later.